You know, guys, imagine, I know I said maybe 3 or 4 years ago on YouTube or, Hiya Sandy! Hiya Sandy! Hiya Sandy! Ayaya! Oh god damn! That was one big ass hamburger, dude. Fucking shoved my chicken McNuggets in my ass. But guys, when I was doing this video on YouTube, probably like in early 2012, I said television today sucks. I'm wrong. It's one of the times I actually admit I am wrong for my opinion, because that time I wasn't really paying much attention to music. Oh no, not paying much attention to television, because I just moved back to San Francisco with $50 to my name, and I had this like big Magnavox CRT TV set from '95 that was still surprisingly working very well, which I was using to play Xbox 360, watch a DVD collection, but it was the only thing I could put up with at the time, because I missed out on the digital television transition and stuff like that in 2009. Didn't have cable at home at the time, Brother gave me the box right after the people who used to live upstairs moved out. But, I know MTV really sucks now, but it is mindless entertainment that's so bad that it's so good, But, there are some TV shows surprisingly from the MTV, like from the 2000s probably. Like Jackass, Laguna Beach, The Hills, Real World. They could have actually been worked if if you study television like I do. Television became mainstream around the late 40s, and at the time there was like only 3 channels and they're all in black and white. Well, color TVs came out around 1954, and they were at least like $11,000 in today's money, counting inflation. But I always thought that, but when I look back on these MTV shows that were either excuse me guys, there are these MTV shows that you might remember, whether you liked them or not, like The Hills, Laguna Beach, and Jackass, Real World. Those shows would have worked well in the 50s, like they did in the 2000s or 2010s, because like just the concept seems very ageless. Like it could have been. It's something about those TV shows that could have done well in an earlier era, despite the black and white, and you hear like Brody Jenner talking to Lauren Conrad, greasing up his hair, wearing his leather jacket, and be like, "Hey, Lauren, we're gonna go to the shindig tonight. It's gonna be gassing, and we're gonna be having a ball." And or something like that. Or you watch like, you watch Kirsten Cavallari like wearing mini skirts and hair tied in a bow and stuff like that. You'd be like, I can't really do impersonation of a white woman, from that era, because, of course the slangs will be a lot different because it's from the 50s and 60s rather than the 2000s or 2010s, But the funniest thing that crossed my mind is, what would be the theme songs for these shows, like The Hills and Laguna Beach and Jackass and Real World, if it came out in the 50s in black and white, rather than the stuff rather when it came out on MTV in the 2000s or 2010s. Like, I'm guessing, if knowing me, I think the perfect theme song for Jackass, if it came out in the 50s in black and white on an over-the-air channel on late night TV, would be Yakety Yak. Remember that song from the 50s? Yakety Yak from the Coasters, That would have been the perfect theme song for Jackass. Funny thing is, how the Real World always has like the cool theme songs in every season to change with the times, to keep up with the changing times? Believe it or not, the Real World will have a Little Richard theme song like, "Woo! I feel good! This is the real world! Oh, 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 woo!" That would be, and it would have been just like, "I feel good to the booty, wop, wop, boom, wop, 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 woo!" Or something like that, I would see Little Richard being the theme song to the Real World if it was out in the 50s and stuff like that. And probably the Beach Boys would have been the theme song for Laguna Beach. A Beach Boys song. I don't know which one in particular. Probably not the songs from Pet Sounds. Because, you know, Pet Sounds was more of a little bit more of a personal sounding album. There was like a lot of sad songs here and there, you know, throughout the whole record. I'm guessing Surfin' USA or maybe Surfin' Safari would have been the theme song for Laguna Beach. If you watch Laguna Beach and stuff like that, you can hear in the background some songs from like Otis Redding or, you know, MTV christens themselves as music television, and a lot of their TV shows have music in the background, you know, and if Laguna Beach was actually a show in the 60s, it would have, and you see all the characters were like surfing into surfboards, listening to Beach Boys, driving their little Camaros and stuff like that, you know. I think some songs that would have been played in the back, you know, if you were watching Laguna Beach in the 2000s, they always had music playing in the background on certain scenes where they're acting out on camera. I think I would hear songs like from, I would probably hear songs like the Supremes, Where Did Our Love Go, or something like that. Or maybe an Otis Redding song like Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. What other songs could work for an episode of Laguna Beach? You know, like how in the first season, there was this one episode where they're having a bonfire, and they had this really like upbeat, kind of like Avril Lavigne kind of sounding song at the end of the episode. It's a really good song, by the way. I just don't know who sang it. Used my SoundHound app on my phone to find out who sang the goddamn song, but still, I can't find it who actually sang that song. But it was really good though. But instead of that song from the 2000s, it would have been like maybe, you know, or what's the Shangri-Las, Give Them a Great Big Kiss or something, you know, and the Hills would have a lot of these similar theme songs too if it was out in the 50s or 60s. I guess if the Hills came out in the 50s or 60s, the theme song would have been Mr. Sandman, read me a dream. That's the closest thing that I ever seen, or something like that. You know, it's like that would have been if it was in the 50s, but if it came out in the 60s, it would have been like, what would be a perfect theme song for the Hills if it was on black and white? Came out in the 60s with Lauren Conrad and Heidi wearing like those mod clothes and stuff like that, and have hair and wear those big hats and stuff like that. You know, because it was the fashion at the time. Can't really say, but definitely Little Richard would be the theme song to The Real World if it came out in the 50s, man. We're like, woo! I feel good! This is the real world! Cast of 7 straight years when people stop being polite! 20 wop, bop, boom, bop, boom, woo! And like, Jackass's theme song would be, you got to be the you know the yakety yak. I mean, that's all. You're not gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak. Sorry, something like that, you know. But it kind of mind fucks me because, you know, some of those MTV shows would have still worked in the 50s and 60s in black and white or early color, you know, because the themes in those shows and the way it's presented is so universal, you know. Of course, the hairstyles and the music in the background and like the slangs and all that kind of stuff and how people looked and talked will be very different in contrast to 2015, but it still would have worked nonetheless. I think the only show that would have not done well on MTV if it were in the 50s was Teen Mom, because believe it or not, there was an episode of I Love Lucy where they couldn't really mention the word pregnancy on camera when it's on the air, because they didn't want to, because at the time people were very conservative about taboo and about stuff like that on mass media, and sex was still a very taboo subject in general, basically at the time in the 50s. And back in the 50s, you didn't see a lot of. I mean, even if there were teen moms in the 50s, it was, you know, it was more of a subtle thing, and they don't really put themselves out there to make the struggle look so real. You know, it's kind of like kind of like scripted and just all this kind of bullshit, you know. But that's what I think, honestly. You know, it's kind of weird that MTV shows, some MTV shows would have worked well in the 50s and 60s, regardless if it's in black and white, color, the tone of the decades changing in contrast to when it actually originally came out, you know. Oh God. And guess what? You know how Chuck Berry does his duck dance when he's doing a duet with Elvis Presley? He's like, Emily! Oh, okay, so, look, I don't want an impersonation of the Chuck Berry duck dance, and I haven't done it in a while. The man's like 90 years old, and he's still rocking his schlong on stage, and you're like, yeah, something like that, it's like some shit like that, but you won't hear Chuck Berry doing this. But, yeah, it's just the way it goes, Wow. And, hey Elvis, make love to me. Oh, I'll be right there, honey. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, it's almost 4 o'clock, so I'm ready to go to bed now, so.